Good afternoon, children. Today we'll start the day with the prayer.
Hey, let's say a little prayer before we start our day. Let us thank God for the lovely things He has given us. God's love is so wonderful. God's love is so wonderful. God's love is so wonderful. Oh, wonderful love. So high, you can't get over it. So deep, you can't get under it. So wide, you can't get around it. Oh, wonderful love.
Good afternoon, children. Today's subject is EVS. In the second lesson, we have studied about the kinds of animals. Now you have understood that there are different types of animals in our surroundings. Okay, now in lesson 3, we are going to study about animal shelter. Come now, watch the video.
Chapter 3 Animal Shelters. Why do we need houses? Very cold weather, gusty winds, scorching sun, heavy rains can cause us great discomfort. We live in houses to protect ourselves from them. A house also protects us from thefts. Some people live very close to forests. They have to face the threat of wild animals. A house protects them from the wild animals too. Like us, do animals also need shelters? Well, some animals do need shelter. They build shelters from themselves. Well, first let me tell you what is a shelter. A shelter is a safe place where one is protected from any danger. A place where one is protected from the sun, rain, wind, etc. Some other animals find shelter in safe places in the environment. Animals who build shelters for themselves. You must have seen birds' nests. Nests are shelters that birds build. Birds are afraid of animals that eat eggs. So they need a safe place to lay their eggs. Baby birds come out of the eggs. There are animals that eat these young birds. The young birds are too weak to defend themselves. The nest keeps the young ones safe. That is why birds build nests. They use things like grass, straw, and twigs to build nests. They may even use cotton wool and pieces of thread and string. This makes the nest soft and warm inside. But kids, I'm sure you must have seen the nest of all birds are not all alike. Birds choose convenient places to build nests. Look at the weaver bird. It chooses a thorny tree which has some branches hanging over water. It builds its nest on the highest of these branches. Animals that eat eggs find it difficult to reach this nest. The tailor bird is smaller than a sparrow. It selects a plant with bigger leaves and builds its nest by stitching the leaves together. It uses a fine tendril to stitch them together. This little nest is big enough for the little tailor bird. Some insects also build their own shelters. For example, honeybees build their honeycombs on trees or under the roof of an overhanging cliff. Rats and mice live underground in fields. They dig into the soil and make holes and burrows to live in. Rats and mice also live in areas where people live. They make holes in the walls or under the floors in houses. They mostly take shelter in mud houses and not in those built with cement. That is because they cannot dig holes into cement construction. Animals that find ready shelters in the surroundings. Some animals do not make any efforts to build a shelter. They simply look around for a safe place. Some doves and pigeons live in forests. Some live in small hollows in high cliffs. Some live near our houses. They find shelter in gaps in walls. Tigers, leopards, hyenas live in caves. Some types of bats live in tall trees. But some live in dark caverns in mountains. Or they look for shelter in old, deserted, tumble-down buildings. Now let us see what we have learned. Animals need a shelter to protect themselves from the cold, wind, sun, and rain. Some animals build their own shelters. Some animals look for ready shelters in their surroundings. We build shelters for the animals we keep. And now do remember, is it right to keep animals in cages for our pleasure? No, let them live in their natural surroundings. Do you know? It is believed that a cobra lives in an ant hill, but that is not true. Ant hills are built by ants, not by a cobra. The cobra lives in holes. Shelters for domestic animals. When people keep animals, they build shelters for them. The shelter built for hens is called a chicken coop or hen house. A cow shed is built for cows. A shelter for a horse is called a stable. Exercise. A. What's the solution? The population of birds in several cities is falling. What could be the reason for that? their number should increase again? Answer: birds need trees for building their nest and taking shelter. In cities, either the trees are cut or their branches are chopped off. So, there is no space for the birds to build their nest. The noise, the smoke of vehicles, and the hustle bustle of city life make birds uncomfortable. Therefore, they leave the cities. In order to increase the number of birds, we must grow more trees and welcome the birds back. We should also provide them with food, water, and shelter. Think and tell. Number 1. What materials do ants use to make ant hills? Answer: ants use particles of soil to build ant hills. Number 2. Some doves and some pigeons have left the jungles and have come to live in areas where people live. Some mice have also done so. What could be the reasons for that? Answer: doves and pigeons take shelter in the gap in the walls of houses. Mice also dug the burrows and take shelter near areas where people live. This must be because they get enough food and water near such areas. They must be also finding it safer and comfortable to get the food. So they must have left the jungles and have come to live in areas where people live. Number 3. In the picture below, match the animals and their shelters. Answer: Number 1. Tiger lives in cave. Number 2. Hen lives in coop. Number 3. Bird lives in a nest. Number 4. Rat lives in a hole. Fill in the blanks. Number 1. The nests of birds are not all dash. The answer is alike. The nests of birds are not all alike. Number 2. The dash bird is smaller than the sparrow. The answer is tailor. The tailor bird is smaller than the sparrow. Number 3. Some animals do not make any dash to build shelters for themselves. The answer is efforts. Some animals do not make any efforts to build shelters for themselves. Number 4. Tigers, leopards and dash live in caves in mountains. The answer is hyenas. Tigers, leopards and hyenas live in caves in mountains. Number 5. The shelter made for a horse is called a dash. The answer is stable. The shelter made for a horse is called a stable. Answer the following questions. Number 1. What does the tailor bird use to stitch its nest? Answer: tailor bird stitches the big leaves of the plant together with fine tendril of a plant. Number 2. What makes it difficult for animals that eat eggs to reach a weaver bird's nest? Answer: weaver bird chooses a thorny tree which has branches hanging over water. The nest built by it is on the height. Animals that eat eggs are unable to reach to the highest of the branches and also due to water underneath. Therefore, it makes it difficult for animals who eat eggs to reach a weaver bird's nest. Number 3. How do birds make their nests soft and warm? Answer: birds use cotton wool and pieces of threads and string to make the nest soft and warm from inside. Number 4. Why do mice and rats not enter houses built with cement? Answer. Rats and mice cannot dig holes into cement construction, and thus they do not enter houses built with cement. Number 5. Where do bats find shelter besides dark cabins? Answer. Bats that stay in dark cabins also take shelter in old, deserted, tumble-down buildings.
Thank you, children.